Today we're going to be talking about the basics of Revit, the interface, and how to get started on Revit if you are a first-time user. I said I wasn't going to talk about this subject, but in reality, it's pretty important to have someone walk you through this thing in a way that makes sense. There's a few ways you can start a new project. One is by hitting New, and by selecting one of the template files provided here by default from Revit. So you would either pick architectural or imperial or metric, and then you can pick structural and construction and systems. I've never picked any of those. I don't know what they look like. So we do architectural. If you're working in an office, they will have a template file hopefully already loaded in here by default. If not, they have a folder location where you can browse to. If they can have two sorts of templates. They can have a template file like this that you can start from, or they have a template project where you can open like this. Let's just say. And then you would detach from central, hit open, save twice. Saving the first time would be you would have to save it in its new location. And when saving it the second time, it gives you, there's an option box on the bottom right that allows you to resave again as central. Okay, we're not going to be going over that. We're just going to be doing a new project from the Imperial Architectural template. If you are metric, by all means, please use metric. So when you enter Revit, this is what shows up. You have level 1, and then you have a project browser and your properties bar. Okay, these are the two main bars that you should have on at all times. If you don't have them, they are right here, so you can check and uncheck them here. So that would be under View and User Interface. Okay, if for some reason they get hidden, so that's good to know. In the project browser, much like how it says at the top, it allows you to browse through the project, and I mean entirely. It has all of your views. It has all of your legends. Legends are basically views, but legends you can place on sheets on more than one sheet. Okay, a view you can place on a sheet once. Okay, you can't place a duplicate view on a sheet. It would have to be duplicated, renamed as something else, even if it's like a spacebar difference, and then you would have to resheet it. So anyway, to move on, you have your sheets, which we have none created so far, so that's why we don't have a drop-down menu for any of these. And then we have our families. Families and groups and Revit links, and we can get into those later. Your families are the components that you are able to place throughout the project, and this list here will give you a good idea of what type of components you are able to place. And these go into like real depth, right? Annotation symbols, different types of profiles that you would be using for like a sweep. You have elevation markers, you have different floor types, dimension types, annotation types, wall types, window types, everything. So everything is here. It's good to go through this if you're on Revit for the first time, just to get yourself acquainted with some of what is provided in the default family list here. And then groups here, which we have none of, but they are also separated into detail groups and model groups. All right. And then over here is your properties bar. In the properties bar, it will give you all the details of all the given details of any selected item. If you don't have anything selected, the default selection will be just the view that you are on. So it will give you all the settings that are on right now for your view. So this view, level 1, also listed right here, is at 1/8 inch scale. We have a display model, of normal, detail level, This is the type of the amount of detail that is shown per element, right? So if we're cutting through a wall, we would only see 2 lines that show the entire width of the wall, whereas if we were showing a fine, we would see the 2 exterior lines of the wall. We would see lines for the stud, we would see lines for the finish, and anything else that might be in there, like sheathing, and so forth. Parts visibility, I've never really touched this. Visibility graphics override. This is kind of a override of your graphics for this particular view. So I will get into the hierarchy of graphics within Revit, excuse me, because there is a supreme hierarchy for the way you present your graphics throughout your model, throughout your sheets, and throughout your drawings. But in here, just for a quick example, if you select doors, you can override the thickness of the lines that are shown for doors, the color, and the pattern even, okay? And then same thing for the cut line, the cut pattern, whether it's transparent, and whether the element itself, the faces have a pattern or not, right? And then you can do that for just about everything. These are model categories, annotation, analytical. Analytical, I've never really used analytical model categories. I'm not sure how to use it or what to do with it. Imported categories. Again, there's no need to really be playing around in here. And then filters. We can talk about filters later on, but that's more advanced. So that is a very specific way to control your graphics per one, just for this level 1, okay? And then this graphic display options just gives you some, more presentation level design options for your graphic qualities. Okay, orientation to project north or true north. You can change the way that this view is oriented based upon your angle to true north. Wall join display, discipline, these things I never really touch. We can get into color schemes later on, but you guys are getting the point. Crop view, right? If I want to crop my view, this is my crop region, okay? That's why it popped up when I checked this. And then you notice that if anything is outside of my crop region, it will be hidden, all right? But if I have annotation crop on, you see that I have like this extra bit of boundary here for any annotation elements. Oh, that should have stayed really, but I guess not. Oh, that's on model element. That's strange. Okay. Anyway, you guys are understanding what a crop region is. We'll get into annotation crop later on. And then you have your scope box. Again, a little more advanced. Phasing, I really wouldn't get into that. And then view templates. We'll talk about view templates shortly. So that's your properties bar, and that's your project browser bar. Okay? This is where you're going to live. This is what you're going to do. But your third place of residence is going to be here on the ribbon. All right? This is where all your tools are. Right? So this is your architecture tab, where we can select wall, where we'll immediately jump into this tab here, modify place wall. So we are in a wall placing mode, let's just say. All right, and now I just went over here and I drew some walls. So you can pick all these elements and start playing with them. We have ramps, stairs, model text, so that's 3D text that lives in your space out here. And you can start creating rooms. By rooms, it's just a 3D region. Oh, there you go, right? So once we do have a room created with our walls, we can create a room, provide it some parameters, give it a room name and so forth, so that we can later on tag it. room separator lines if you have no walls to separate rooms with, and then area, so on and so forth. And then you have some opening options by face, shaft, wall, vertical, dormers, and then so on and so forth. Component, these are your families. So the list that we were looking at earlier, these are your families. For example, this door, single flush. When I go to door, single flush, I am now trying to put down a door somewhere, but I have nowhere to put a door. So let's create a wall first. Shortcut for wall is WA. And then let's put a door over there. All right. So as we can see, I can go into here. Let's not guess. 36 by 84. So if I go into here, 36 by 84, I do a select all instances in entire project. It will select all instances in entire project. And then it'll give me a count here in my properties bar. So it'll tell me, hey, we're selecting one of single flush 36 by 84 door. And then these are its properties. When you have more than one door selected, some of this information will vary, and it will just say varies. So that's convenient. But when you have just one, you can start to play with any of the parameters here, right? Like the sill height. So that is these are also components, so to speak. But then you have all the other stuff, right? This is your main stuff: walls, doors, floors, roofs, windows, and doors. But then everything else is going to live right here in component. All right. So even trees, if you want, live in component. Parking spaces, desks, a toaster. If you needed a mechanical vent, if you needed, a couch, so on and so forth. Lots of things that live there. So that's the architecture tab. You can start to play around with that. Structure tab is the structure tab. I'm not the person to teach you about the structure tab or the steel tab or the precast tab. And then there's also like a mechanical tab that I've hidden. I should hide these two since I never use them, but whatever. So insert, right? This is where we can link or insert CAD. We can link PDFs if you are, I think, in 2022 and later. Otherwise, you'll have to just import images or import CAD. So you have all of these options here, even decals. So you can use this as like a sticker tool when you're working. I've never really, I used to use it when I was younger and like modeling very intricately with things I didn't need to model. But if you're doing like a school project, it's why not? But also, I think it's easier and better quality if you were just to put that in Photoshop instead, and it will save you a lot of time, because in Revit it can be just a pain in the butt. So these are your links. Annotate. This is where we grab all the tools to annotate with, right? So let's copy this real quick. Let's say we want to provide a dimension. Here is a dimension tool called Aligned. And then, like always, whenever you're selecting a new tool or something, you're going to get a new tab. It's usually green, sometimes it's light blue. But this is notifying you that you are doing something. You are running a command. So while we're running the dimension command, we also have various options for the dimensions. The same options that were there initially, but since we are already in the dimension world or tool, sorry, since we're using the dimension tool, it's still allowing us to select the other options, which is great. So just don't be confused if this thing jumps around a lot. Also, whenever you're using a tool, there's always, not always, but there's usually options right here, right under the ribbon bar and right above your view. Okay, so here we can say wall faces, and now it'll by default pick wall faces. And so just be just be mindful of that. Okay, so besides dimensioning, we also have detail lines. These are lines that we can draw all over our view, but when we go into 3D world, or we go into another view, let's say we create another plan view, floor plan level 1, so it's the same level, right? Those detail lines aren't going to show up on another floor plan because they're detail lines and not model lines. However, if I drew a model line, now it's going to show up everywhere, right? As you can see. So I know I'm going a little fast here, but I will catch you guys up shortly, don't you worry. So that's the view tab. We weren't talking about the view tab at all. We were on annotate. All right, so that's detail line. Next to detail line, you have region. So if you need to create a hatch pattern or something like a filled region, as it's saying right there. Detail component. This is instead of drawing, let's say that bolt right there that is highlighted in turquoise, instead of drawing that line by line, we have the ability to create a detail family, or a detail component rather, ahead of time or during the project, so that we can create it once and then we'll have it in the project, and then we can go to this detail component tool and then just paste that bolt that we drew as a family wherever we needed it, in any detail we need. But it is a detail component, so it won't show up in the rest of the model. It'll show up only on the view that you created in. Revision clouds, you know what those are. Detail groups, similar to components, detail components, but detail groups are the same thing. Let's say we create this steel angle with these concrete bolts, right? You take all that line work, all the, what is it? You take the line work, you take the hatch pattern that you select there, that you've drawn there. All right, so like detail components, detail groups are drawings that you've made, that you've assembled, that you've selected and grouped. You know, you do the same thing in components, but you save it out and then you import it into your project. Detail groups you create within the project, you group it within the project, and that's it. So this detail group wouldn't show up in families, but it would show up in groups under here. I would stay away from creating detail groups, or mostly detail groups, because once you get a large project going, right, it will really slow down your entire project, and everyone's project will go slower. So I know I just said the same thing twice, but it's important. All right, what's next? Detail groups. Okay, so text. This is how you add text, or tx, right? .do. Nope. Okay. And then when you're in text, you also have these options, right? You can change these options once you're done editing your text as well, so don't worry about that. That's cool. So I guess this is more like structural thing, but I don't tag beams. This is a tag by category, so if you have a door you want to tag, it'll tag your wall, it'll tag a door, and always hit escape to get out of using a tool. And then you keep going, keep going, keep going. Tread numbers. Some of these are very self-explanatory, right? Symbols. So symbols and detail components. Detail components, sometimes you are able to stretch. They're kind of parametric. they have parameters that you can work into them. Symbols, they're very simple sort of components. So symbols you cannot stretch or modify or anything like that. Span direction, these are more structural. Annotations, so we don't use them. Stair paths, these are generated automatically, but if you lose one, you can always come back here to recreate it. Analyze, I don't use these. These look cool. I might start using them. Massing and site, this is where you can set up your property line, start playing around with a topo surface, a topography, a landscape. In-place mass, this is, you can do a in-place mass and it'll have a lot more flexibility in how you create geometry, right? Because Revit, you're dealing with walls, you're dealing with floors, which are a lot more rigid. But when you work with an in-place mass, you're kind of creating this ghost volume that you can later attach walls to by using these tools here, model by face. So when you have, let's say we're selecting wall and you have that curved face, you can select it and it will cover your selection with the wall and follow those contours. Place mass. I guess, what is place mass? Okay, so I guess place mass is place mass are, I just really don't use these much. But place mass is once you've created a mass outside of Revit, maybe even in Revit, saved it out and then exported it and want to bring it into another project, you can bring it in this way, okay? And then show mass, form, and floors. This is just your view settings available while you're doing a massing. Collaborate. This is when you're doing a project where you work with multiple people on one team, one project. Everyone has the file open at the same time. Everyone's working on different parts of the project, and everyone's having a just dandy time. Okay, so most of these are just not grayed out. Actually, all of these are not grayed out when you're working in a collaborative model. I don't have the proper license to start a collaborative model, but I do have projects that I can open because since they've been started as a collaborative model somewhere else, they can be opened as one. So we can look at that later on if you need. This is your view tab, right? You have view templates here. View templates are fantastic. I was talking about visual hierarchy before, so let's just talk about. Well, we'll get back to that, okay? Before I get into specifics, because then I'll go into a rabbit hole. So this is where you can apply view templates, create new view templates, or just manage your overall view templates. These are your default view templates that come with the project. Once you have a view template, you can select, let's say you want to select all your views. Let's delete that one. Let's say you want to select all your views and you want them to all have the same look, the same line weights, the same scale. You don't want to have to modify the visibility and graphic overrides for every single floor plan if you're working on, a 60-story building. What you do is you go into here, you manage your view templates, you set all your overrides, right? If you want thicker line weights and so on and so forth, you set those here. And then what you can do is you select your views and then go to view template in the properties bar. And then you can select the architectural plan, let's say. And now all of these guys, if we select the view and then go to the view template through the properties bar here, and then change something in here. Let's say we want our walls, our cut line to be 6 and our color to be red instead. It will change our cut lines for our walls to be a thickness of 6. not only on level 1, but level 2 and level 3, right? So this is a great way to manage all your drawings and line weights and so forth. Now, that is your secondary. That is the second in the scale of hierarchy. Okay, the main guy is right here in object styles under manage. Okay, object styles is where your project defines how everything looks by default. Okay, so if you're not telling it how to show a cut line for a wall at a certain, that's it. If you don't show Revit how to show a cut line at what thickness, it will show it by default at whatever is shown here in object styles. Okay, this you should modify this to your liking, to how you like your drawings to look, to what you're trying to convey, in a very general sense, right? Don't focus on like a presentation drawing where you want your walls to be gray and this and that, because once you start giving your walls color like that, it's a little too much, right? Our default wall here, that's our cut patterns here, and that is showing us what? 0 pattern, 0 color, so it's just white, which is what we want. So we have a cut line of 5 and a projection line of 2. If we change it in the view template, it will override, right? Now, if we select an element and we go right click and then override graphics and view by element here, this will override the view template, which overrides object styles. Okay, this is like your last this is your last lifeline. I don't like when people use this. I use it myself sometimes when need be, but if you really only if you really need it. Otherwise, everything should be fixed accordingly. If the wall pattern is showing incorrectly, it should be fixed in the wall settings themselves. Okay, so that sort of thing. But you select an element, override graphics and view by element, and that's the last one in the chain of graphic hierarchy in the simplest terms. There's other elements like phasing that we can talk about, but we're not going to right now, that have different graphic overrides that come into play, and then so on and so forth. Oh, also, there's also filters. There's also filters that can override. Well, it's part of the view template, so it's not overriding the view templates. But filters, you can add filters. You can make new filters, right? So let's just say create new filter, walls, right? This would be, sorry. You would want something like walls, 2 hour rated. Let's just say walls 2 hour, just to make it simple. Okay, we go to walls. This is our rule name that we're creating. Within that rule, we're going to talk about walls, all right, as the title of it says. And then this is the rule that I'm looking for. The walls, let's see here. Type name contains 2 hour. Okay. Okay. So if my wall contains the name 2 hour, I want it to be hidden. Okay. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit OK. Now, we don't have a 2 hour wall. Let's create one. Whenever you have a element, whatever component, whatever anything, right? Even dimension type, There's you can select here. If you hit the drop down arrow in your properties, you can change the type of dimension that you want. You can change the type of door that you want. You can change the type of wall that you want. All right. And everything in between. So this is what the properties bar is for as well. And then what else can we do? All right, the 2-hour wall. So let's work on that filter. So when you want a new wall, let's say, you can go into edit type, right? You select the wall, go into edit type, and then here we are in this type properties, which is this, which are these properties, but with more information, right? Here we can go into the structure of the wall, right? What is the wall made of? It will tell you right here. Since this is a generic wall, it just says structure, no material, 8 inches. So that's where it's getting the 8 inches from, by this number right here, okay? If we wanted to, let's say, insert, we can select this. We can shift that up so that it's not part of the core. We can do a finish, and then we can select, I don't know, stucco. Do you have stucco? Plaster? All right, gypsum wallboard is good enough because basically same material. No, just kidding, but same like texture, right? And then these are the settings for the gypsum wallboards that I don't need to get into right now. So we picked that. This is going to be 5/8 of an inch. All right. And then okay. I forgot to hit duplicate first. So first you should duplicate and then make, let's say, concrete with stucco. And then it's going to be, we can just say 8-inch because we want to call out the concrete that we're using, not the overall width, which is going to be that 5/8. So let's hit OK. Let's hit OK. So now we just created that one. We forgot to make it a 2-hour because that was the point of this whole thing. So let's make that 2-hour. All right. Now it's going to be hidden because that filter that we put on the view template is in the list and the visibility is off, right? So what the filter is doing is it's finding all the elements under the rule that are fitting the rules that we've called out for. And then we're saying, hey, the visibility of those off. So that's what that's doing there. Or we can keep the visibility on and then change maybe the pattern. Let's say a solid pattern, but it's going to turn out pink, right? Why would we want this filter? I'll tell you why. Because when you are trying to modify your view template, let's say, you go down to walls, well, you only have one, option for walls. And then the subcategories, which are just hidden lines, common edges, non-core layers, and wall sweeps. So there's not much to modify there if you wanted to modify different types of walls differently. Here I'm saying I have 2-hour walls that I want shown differently. So now it's giving me a little more control. And also, since it's part of the view template, all these rules will apply to the other levels as well. So that's a little bit about the hierarchy. All right. So that's view templates. Jesus. All right. Thin lines. As you can see on the page here, right? If you're looking at the walls, you see the thickness and the thin lines and the thick lines popping up and disappearing. That is just because once you start getting a lot of work drawn in here, it starts getting a little populated and dense, and it's hard to see everything. So just to clear things up for yourself so you can maintain accuracy, you can click that there. This thing is also up here. so that if you are in any other tab, you can just come up here. Or better yet, you just hit TL on your keyboard and then you're out. All right. You always want to cancel out of things, but don't do it that way. Just hit escape. Always hit escape. Your pinky or your ring finger should always be on the escape key while you're running Revit. So you have other options here. I don't really use this, but I need to start using this. It'll show you some hidden lines of anything that's behind another opaque element like a wall. Here you can go to your 3D view. All right, this is our 3D view, or I like to just type in 3D. That is not a default shortcut for some reason. So if you want that to be a default shortcut, 3D, to go to your 3D view, you can go to your user interface and go to your keyboard shortcuts, or just type KS, and then you can type 3D here, and it'll give you this option here, 3D view, default 3D view. You type in, let's say this is blank, right? You type in, you select it, you come down here, you type in 3D, and then you click assign. If you get a warning like this, just take a screenshot or take a mental note of what it's saying, because it's telling you that another command has the same shortcut, and that's fine for the most part. Sometimes it's usually not, but it's too much to talk about right now. But here it's just saying that, hey, 3D views already has it. It's getting confused because it just had it. We deleted it. We're giving it back. So on and so forth. We're going to hit OK. But for other things, like I had to do PA for paste, like paste to same align to current view, right? And it gave me the error, and it said, hey, pipe accessories already has that shortcut. So I said, okay, I don't use pipe accessories ever in my life. I'm going to delete the shortcut for pipe accessories, use PA for the paste option I wanted, and then hit OK, and I got my shortcut. So that's 3D. If you want to pop there, you can also, when you are, it's best to do when you're in plan view, you can also set up cameras. Once you set up a camera, it'll give you like a perspective shot of wherever you put the camera, right? And then you can play around with these the window here, and I don't know, it's 3D views, like perspective views in Revit are just absolute trash. So I'll just tell you that and be very straightforward. So here you can also create sections. Sections are, vertical drawings cutting through elements of a project. So we're cutting through this wall at this line looking that way north. So that's how you create sections. You can right click on a section and just hit go to view, or you can go when we created that section, it also created a section view right here under the project browser. So we can also go to it that way. It's always best to name your views right away and not have a bunch of copy, copy 1, copy 2, copy 3. It's no good. So section through wall. That's a terrible name, but at least we have it. Now someone can delete that if they're on a project with you and they know it's nothing, right? Although I would look twice before just deleting that. So anyway, that's section. This is call out. You create a detail view. You can create these call outs in plan. You can create them in elevation. Same with sections. Plan views. If we are in elevation, let's say, we want to create a new level. Let's go to architecture. We create level. Okay, just created a level floor plan for me by, okay, it just did it automatically. I'm not used to that. Why did it do? Oh, because I did level, right? Because I did it this way, and it has make plan view checked, right? Okay. Okay, and then because I did that, it created all these views for me while I did that. Oh, well, that's neat. That's nice. I didn't know that. But yeah, usually I don't make plan views unless I need them. But if it doesn't make a plan view for you, what I was trying to say is you go to plan views, you can select what type of plan you want, let's say floor plan. If nothing is showing, you just uncheck this, and then you can select whatever floor plan you want, right? Because you're going to need one floor plan 1 for diagrammatic purposes. You're going to need another floor 1 plan for dimensioning and so forth, and more technical drawings. And this is how you get them. So those are plan views. When we are in a plan view, you can create elevations. It's nice because it'll just orient itself when it sees a face. Otherwise, you'll just have to orient it, on your own. Drafting views are views that you can create that have no model elements whatsoever. The difference between model elements and detail elements are very particular, just like the groups separated here, right? Model elements, when you see a model element, you can see it everywhere else in every other view. Detail elements are for views only, like view specific only. If I create a detail element in level 1 diagram, it won't show up in level 1 construction plan. It just won't happen. Okay. So drafting view is all detail elements. So this is where you want to create like your default details, or just play around, whatever you want. Duplicate view. This is duplicate with detailing. So if you're in a view, you can duplicate the same view with detailing, or as a dependent, or just duplicate it with just as a fresh, brand new sheet without any of the annotations that you've added to it. Legends, schedules, again, these are right here. So if you want to create a new schedule or a legend, you can create it there, or you can create it here. I think it's always fastest right here from the project browser. Sheet, same thing, sheet right here, new sheet. We have a default title block here for Revit. Fantastic. So this is your sheet. It has a certain size. This is 30 by 42. All right, so if we measure this is 30, right? That's 42, and then this is the 30. Yep, cool. All right, so that's good and accurate. So then you can take a level 1 plan, right, and then put it on your sheet. You can go to your crop view, double click to go into the view while you're in a sheet. All right, you can crop this to your liking. You can even hide the crop region. You can select the view title for this and then adjust accordingly. And there we go, right? So then we can have level 2. And it's nice because it will tell you when it's aligned, like one above the other. There we go. That blue dashed line is telling you that it's locked vertically to the one below. All right, so we can do the same thing. We can take this, it'll lock to the one below, right? We can take this, crop region visible, right? All right, beautiful. All right, and then double click to get in, and then double click to get out. All right, so those are sheets, and then so on and so forth. You can switch between views, but you can do that right here in your tab. But if your tabs get overloaded, you can do it here or here, and then you can close inactive views. So it'll close all the views that aren't open. And then if you have 2 views open, 3 views open, and you want to tile those, you can go here. You can hit ZA for zoom all, and then have everything centered, fitting the extents of their windows. So that's WT if you want to use the shortcut, and then TW to just enlarge the one view that you've were sorry, and then just hit TW to enlarge the view that is selected to get back to normal. All right. And then user interface, like I said, if you lose your project browser or properties bar, you can get those back here and modify your keyboard shortcuts and so forth. Manage, lots of different settings here. I suggest you go through all of them. You can play around with your materials, specifying different snaps. Okay, this is great to look at actually because these are your snap shortcuts. So when you're moving something, you can use these guys to snap to endpoints, midpoints, center points, and so forth without guessing. So take a look at this and memorize those. They're easy to memorize. SE, snap to end, C, snap to center. I wouldn't worry about parameters for now. Just get used to Revit. Additional settings, line styles. This is good to know if you don't have any line types that you like. This is where you will go in. You just hit new. You can create a new, let's say red. I want a red line. I want that to be 5, thickness of 5. Yeah, solid. Red. Okay. So DL for detail line for me. When you start drawing a line, you have the options here to pick from. All right. So again, once you pick it, you can change it. In Revit, when you select something, let's say you're here, but you want to select the other one, you can hit tab and it'll cycle to whatever it thinks that you want to pick next. Since this is a continuous polyline, let's say, yeah, I can select this, or I can hit tab and select all of it, right? Same thing if I had some more walls here. So I can select this wall, or I can hit tab and it'll select the whole run of the walls, which is fantastic. And then as I was saying about using snaps, so if I hit MV for move, I can hit SE and it'll just fly to the endpoint, or SM to the midpoint, and SM again if I want to fly to that midpoint right there. Okay, I'm going to hit escape to not do anything. And that's line styles. Unless you know what you're doing with your line weights, I wouldn't touch these. Fill patterns, start playing around, why not? Start playing around with annotations. These are all great. And then that's really all I use. Manage, what else is in manage? Generative design, I have not played with these yet. I'm too focused on Workman. This is a plugin that you will not see. And then modify. This is where you modify all your tools that I've been using to modify all of your elements, right? So this is align, offset, mirror, draw mirror. If you just hang out here for a second, it'll give you a little video of a demo. But like I said, always be mindful of the options right below the ribbon. So if I was to split something, right now it will delete the inner segment of whatever I'm splitting. But if I didn't want that and it kept happening to me and I didn't know why, well, it's because that option has been checked right there. Okay. What else do we have here? We can paint, remove paint. You should never really, hey, if you're doing a school project, by all means paint away, but this is just like using like a sticker to apply a material to something. In the professional world, you don't want to do that. You want to change the wall type, give it the right, materials, thicknesses, and so forth, so you can actually convey the proper assembly. But like I said, if you're doing a school project, you just need to throw some stuff on there. Paint away, my children, paint away. Split face. If we are painting, I'm going to use SF to do the shortcut. But now I can select this wall. I can create just a different division of the wall. Let's say I want this square here. I can go to paint. I want to paint that purple. Okay, now I can paint that and it won't paint the rest of the wall, right? So here are some visibility options that you can change so you can see what you're doing a little bit better. We even have realistic. Just kind of realistic, I guess. And then you can even do a wireframe. And then before, as I was saying in the graphic display options, this is the smooth lines. So everything just smooths out just a little bit, so it's a little finer. It doesn't look as pixelated when doing, you know, angled lines. So that's that. So get to know these tools. You're going to be using these tools all the time. I made a pretty long video about shortcuts. I think it's not as long as this video, but still long. But get to know these and get to know the shortcuts for them, because by the time you go up here, you know, throughout the day, a million times a day, it's probably maybe like an hour of your time every single day for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, and then it's your whole life. And your whole life, maybe you spend, I don't know, for a whole month just going to the ribbon. That's nuts. Don't do that. So get to know all that stuff. Create parts. I've never created parts in my life, bruh. So I don't know how to tell you anything about these guys here, but create groups. That's fun. And so on and so forth, right? So that's it, guys. That is the general interface of Revit. But before I go, we need to talk about these guys at the bottom as well, right? This here are your work sets. This is not enabled for me because I'm not in a collaborative work model. So you will have different work sets you can pick from that you will work under. These are design options. They're fun to play around with, especially, you know, if you're in school. We tend to use this a lot less, I think, in the professional world because it can become a little troublesome. And then here, again, this is another place where it's just showing you your scale. Same as your properties bar, same thing here, graphic display, level of detail, coarse, medium, fine, graphic display options. Not available right now because we have a view template assigned to this view. So that's being run by the view template. Sun settings, shadows are off because the view template. These I haven't played around with much. This is temporary hide and isolate. This is a fantastic tool to use, okay? You select something. You can go isolate element, all right? And then you see only that element. Let's say you have a wall here, a window, multiple lines, a lot of notes pointing over here, but you've lost a dimension and it's just getting cluttered. So now you can isolate this, hit DI for dimension, and then you have this guy. You can hit HR to do a release of the isolation, or just go here, and then you can get back to the normal view. Right? And that will be a lot easier on your life once you have a very busy drawing and you need to move faster, right? So what else? That's that. This is reveal hidden elements. So if you want to hide something in your view, you can hide just one element. If you don't want to do it in the view template for any other views, you want to do it just in this view, you can do it per element. And then if you want to see where that is again, because there's no way getting it back without seeing it, you can click here, or I do RH, reveal hidden, select it, and then up here you have unhide element. And as always, if you have a shortcut enabled for it, it will show you the shortcut beside it. So mine is EU. So we can click that, toggle reveal hidden elements mode to get back out of it. Our wall is back and we're good to go. This is temporary view properties. Because we have a view template here, I can use this to enable temporary view properties. Now I can mess around with the view visibility graphic overrides one more time and then change it back to the view template settings. You know, just in case there was something hidden that I needed unhidden, but I didn't want to disassociate the view template from the view, because sometimes when a project is, let's say in construction document, like 100%, you don't want to be making such changes to like an entire series of drawings. You want to make it to change to just your view. So that's one way of doing it. And it's only temporary. So you can revert back to what was already done. My number one rule in the office is this guy right here. This should always have an X over it. What this does is, right now, I can't click on an object and drag it. I have to select it, and then I can drag it, okay? But if this is deselected, I can just come here, select and drag at the same time, right? So if I'm here by accident and I'm trying to create, you know, a selection box, but I accidentally come too close, you know, now I can drag that by accident, and that's not what I wanted to do. So this is really calling out, just asking for trouble. Don't ever have this on, ever. This should always be off. All right. This is to select elements by face or by edge. That doesn't really matter to me. Select pinned elements. So if you don't want something to move, you can always pin it right here or hit PN. All right. You can still select it, but you can't move it. And if you don't even want to be able to select it because you want to select other things and it's bothering you, because let's say you have a CAD overlay and that CAD overlay has a lot of like lines on it, and you keep trying to select something in your drawing, but it keeps trying to select the CAD. Well, the CAD should really be pinned, and then you can hit select pinned elements, deselect that, and then you won't even have the option to select it. It'll just be frozen in time. So that's that. Select underlay elements. I don't really understand this one. And then select links. Again, links are imported models from Revit or, you know, IFC models. So you can get a little technical, but other 3D models or CAD, right? So same thing. It's whether you can select or not select linked elements. So that's what that does. So I hope that helped. Just to recap, right? Just a quick recap. All right, this is Revit. This is your project browser. All your views live here. All your sheets live here. For example, when you have a floor plan, you can drag that floor plan onto a sheet. Oh, okay, we already have the sheet on here. Okay, so when you have a sheet, you can drag views onto that sheet and place them. All right, you can drag multiple views on a sheet and place them, but you can't drag the same view onto multiple sheets. You can drag multiple legends onto multiple, well, you can drag legends onto multiple sheets. Schedules, only one per sheet. And then all your sheets, and then all your families, and then your properties bar will tell you what you can do, what you can change, all the parameters that are given with whatever selected element, whether that be your view or your family or your door or your wall or your roof or your sister. It doesn't matter. It will tell you. Your ribbon is all your tools, your modeling elements, your modifying elements, your annotation elements, your managing elements, right? So if you want to create new line types, they're right here in line styles. Your views, you want to create new views in a floor plan. Let's say we're here. We can go, let's create a floor. Okay, well, we have our line options here. This is pick wall, pick lines. So if there's other lines that are existing and we want to base it off of that, we can just use that to pick it, to draw ours. Since we don't have any, I'm just going to draw a rectangle. Here's our floor. I'm going to hit check. All right, I'm going to hit wall. You can always change where your wall is being drawn from. So finish face exterior here, finish face interior, or wall center line, however you want, whatever fits your project. So I went to 3D view. I'm hitting HL for hidden line. We were in consistent colors. We're going to hidden line. I'm going to turn on shadows for fun. We can change the lighting of those shadows right here because those are very, very dark. So we can go into lighting, and then golden numbers are 68, 15, 14. All right. You should never play around with those numbers. 68, 14, 15, 14. That's all you need to ever know. All right. Once we're in our floor plan, we can create sections. We can create elevations. Right? Oops. So I rotated that using the rotate tool, FYI. If you are rotating something, it will give you the center of axis there. But if you want to change that, you can go here, center of rotation, or you can hit spacebar, and then that's what I do. I hit spacebar, selected those, and then I rotated whichever way I want. So once you're in here, right, now we have this view. We can take our section. We can show our section now. This section will show our levels, and so on and so forth. And then we can see that maybe our floor should go all the way out. I'll just do that side for now because why not? All right, double click to get out of there. And then we can also go back to modify and even join these two so we can get a better graphic quality. If that's how they join, you know, you want to be realistic or not. You know, if it's diagrammatic, this is much better to show, especially if we have like a view template or we want to change our view template, for example. So we'll go to patterns. Actually, let me select walls and floors at the same time so they change at the same time. So we'll go to cut patterns here, solid, fill. Let's do a light gray. We'll do okay. We'll do okay. And then boom, our walls and floors change to a light gray cut pattern. Right? So that's one way to start setting up your drawings. I hope this was informative. I'll try to I don't know. Please leave comments if you have questions. If there's anything I can do to make your learning experience any better, please let me know. It's all I want to do. There's like almost nothing I can't do in Revit besides any like Zaha Hadid stuff. That's where the buck stops for me. So let me know what you think. If you have questions, I would love to answer anything. That's it. Arrivederci. Montebello, mozzarella. Bye.